The Dallas Cowboys have made a sneaky good signing as after the Cooper Bebe injury, they look to bolster up their center depth. They do that today with a signing. We tell you why this guy is a good fit given he's worked with the Cowboys offensive coordinator and all the latest right here on Cowboys Digest. Welcome everybody. I'm Jace Andrews. I appreciate you tuning in to today's show and hope you are having a wonderful Wednesday wherever you might be. Cooper Bebe is officially out for 6 to 8 weeks, and the Cowboys, with no center besides Brock Hoffman, needed some depth. They do that today, and we'll tell you who that is in just a moment. Before that, though, if you are new looking for a place for daily Cowboys content, we've got you covered because we are closing in on 7,000 subscribers, less than 200 away. So if you are new and you want some Cowboys content day in, day out right here in the 2025 NFL season, we've got you covered. So go down there. I'd really appreciate it. And the best part about it, it's 100% free. We all know the news by now. The Cowboys have officially lost their starting center, Cooper Bebe, to a high ankle sprain for 6 to 8 weeks. He was placed on injured reserve as Jadeveon Clowney was signed and took that spot on the 53-man roster. Now, this is obviously some bad news, especially given the center position is hard to replace in a lot of teams. Luckily, the Cowboys, they're in a good spot with Brock Hoffman, and the good news behind it, Beebe is expected to be returning on the shorter end of things, hopefully around the 6-week mark, which would put him back here around week 8, maybe week 9. Should be a decent time for him to return. At that point, you feel pretty good about your team, especially given Brock Hoffman at that point will have played 6 games in the starting role, so you know if Beebe were to come back and not need some time, not have a snap limit, then guess what? Then we're going to be good. So it's going to be a very good signing for the Cowboys here, as I'm about to tell you, but it's more of a depth role than anything, because if we go back to the offensive depth chart here, we can see that Brock Hoffman is the only true center on the starting roster, 53-man roster, I should say. And it's a bit different than any other offensive line position. Obviously, when you have a left guard, right tackle, left tackle, whenever they go out, you can usually kind of move some people around. The right tackle can play left, and same thing can be said for right and left guards. So you can move those around. Center is different because there's a lot more intangibles with that, plus the chemistry that comes with the quarterback, and we saw that with Brock Hoffman. Came in mid-game and had a fumbled snap with Dak Prescott. Should be good from here on out. Hoffman's been a really good piece for this Dallas Cowboys squad, but you would like to have a backup center and a true backup center. And so that's exactly what the Cowboys went out and did today as they bolstered their offensive line depth with a center who was familiar with our offensive coordinator as they placed him on the practice squad. Now, the reason he's on the practice squad is for a couple of different reasons. And the first I'll say is this. You can bring up somebody off the practice squad 3 times in a year. You have 2 call-ups each game. With that being said, let's say Cooper Bebe, he's officially out 6 weeks, and he comes back at the end of that 6 weeks. That means you can call up this center that we're about to talk about, Wesley French, in 3 different scenarios, and the hope is that the other 3 games, you can kind of work it around. I would expect him to be called up at least this week and potentially next week, and then we'll see how it goes after that. But he's going to be an important piece for the Dallas Cowboys moving forward. I mentioned the name, but here's the official report from Todd Archer. The Cowboys are adding center Wesley French to the practice squad after a workout on Tuesday. He has spent time with offensive coordinator Clayton Adams in Indy as the Cowboys have needed depth after the Cooper Bebe injury. So let's talk a little bit about Wesley French and kind of what the latest and what he's all about. We first start with the report talking about him being a guy that the offense coordinator Clayton Adams knows. Josh Sanchez of Dallas Cowboys SI says, quote, during his 3 seasons with the Indianapolis Colts, French played under Cowboys offensive coordinator Clayton Adams. And that's a big piece. Couple of different reasons behind that. Obviously, Brian Schottenheimer, he's the one who's running the offense mainly with the Dallas Cowboys. I think we all know and expected that. But with Clayton Adams, you want to have somebody familiar with, especially at the center role, and you get a guy who he played with or he played for. So obviously a good portion there. And funny enough, it was. And this is actually worded wrong, but French joined the Colts as an undrafted free agent out of Western Michigan in 2022. He was then cut by that team during the final wave of roster cuts this season. Throughout his career, French has appeared in 17 games, and he has 3 starts, end quote. That's one of the better parts about being a center is when you have a role on a team that is really, really specialized, it's going to be a a hard time to find one that you really trust and really believe in. And so a good thing for the Cowboys to pull out this move for Wesley French. Like I said, you can call him up 3 times. Beebe should be out for 3 weeks, 6 weeks. So half the weeks you should have a backup option in some light. That being said, he is exactly not who I pictured. If you look at his PFF rankings in the preseason last year, wasn't good. He was, in fact, one of the bottom 5 players ranked on the PFF scale with a 49.8. Just kind of let you know, Cooper Bebe had a 77 PFF ranking when he got injured, so about a 37-point difference right there, or excuse me, about a 27, almost 30-point difference right there, so not great. But the point I try to make to you is that Wesley French is strictly a depth position and a depth role. He is an in case of emergency break type of situation because he's going to be on the practice squad. He's going to get a lot of reps on the opposing squad. Really going to be a scout team in some aspects and really just help out with the Cowboys in practice, having that extra center. And that's why I think he is a sneaky signing, because Brock Hoffman now being your only center, you're going to do everything in your absolute possible way to make sure he does not get injured. This signing does exactly that by allowing for Wesley French to come in and take some of that practice role. I really trust Brock Hoffman in so many aspects. A 76.8 offensive grade last year during a Thanksgiving game, 69.4 on the run blocking grade, and an 87.6 pass blocking grade. He allowed 0 pressures in that game. He has been a fantastic guy to come in and I would say be the next man up type of mentality. He came in when Zach Martin went down. He's been able to push around the offensive line in a couple of different aspects, and Beebe was penciled in to be the starter for really the entire season. Ultimately, he gets injured. You luckily have Brock Hoffman, and I think for the Dallas Cowboys, they're one of the few teams that actually kind of have this positionment, because there are a lot of teams across the National Football League that do not have even a backup center. They don't even have a center on the practice squad. Like, they just hope they can get by with what their offensive line has, and if they need a center, they're going to pick somebody off a right guard, left guard. Brock Hoffman is a true center who can come in and play very, very good snaps. Now, is he going to be Cooper Bebe? I don't know. I don't think he's going to be something, otherworldly amazing, but he is definitely going to come in and be very, very good. Him and Dak Prescott will have all week, obviously practice starting today, moving on to tomorrow and Friday. They're going to have all week to kind of coordinate themselves, get better, get that chemistry going. That way we don't see another fumbled snap like we saw this past week versus the New York Giants. And that hopefully should be a good part. So Wesley French, a good sneaky signing for the Dallas Cowboys. I do believe he'll be a good portion of practice squad efforts. I think he'll probably be a guy you'll see a lot at practice, and I would expect him to be moved up onto the 53-man roster, not the 53-man roster, but called up for 3 games over the next 6 weeks for certain, just as a depth piece. We appreciate you watching, and before we get going, I want you to get in the comment section. We're getting close here to week 3 here, so I want you to predict the score early on here this week for the Cowboys versus the Bears. What do you think the final score will be for Cowboys versus Bears? Let me know down in the comment section for our Cowboys question of the day. All right, we appreciate you. We'll see you next time here on the show. Peace out, guys.